Welcome back to another episode of Naia Lax Updates. How are we doing this weekend, Tucker?
Doing great, doing fantastic. Lots of lacrosse. For those who follow the Twitter, I was watching 2 games at once, kind of thing. So it was a good weekend full of lacrosse. The weather is getting warmer here. We won't have ice on our helmets for practice tomorrow. Things are going in a positive, upward trend, I guess I could say. But the highlight of the world right now is that there's a whole lot of NAI lacrosse going on, and that's what this podcast is about. So let's talk about NAI lacrosse. I mean, come on, who doesn't want to talk about NAI lacrosse? It's the coolest thing on planet Earth.
That's what we live for, guys. I mean, that's all there is.
That's right. All right, so we're gonna jump in. We got an arm, a leg, a toe, and everything to cover. I guess I don't know what kind of analogy to make, but we got the full line of games, everything. So let's just jump right in, starting with Weber and St. Andrews, and I will pull up our picks to reference our picks. We both picked Weber. In full disclosure, you guys saw the NAI picks graphic. We both picked Weber. Weber did win this game, but it was a close game. John, give us your breakdown. What did you think about this game?
Yeah, it was a pretty close game. Weber ended up winning 11-7. The big thing here was Weber got an early lead, then St. Andrews kind of tried to rally late in the fourth, but just a little bit too much too late kind of deal there. I was excited to see Hunter Scott, my former Reinhardt teammate, is back taking faceoffs for Weber. So he's really, I think this is probably the first time he's been healthy all year this weekend. So he really helped them out in that department a lot, getting him back. And my brother was on a visit there, so he got to see it firsthand. He was really excited about the atmosphere at the game and just seeing St. Andrews and whatnot. But the big thing that made it kind of close was they were able to slow down Q pretty well. But then since they were kind of so focused on him, it seemed like Jackson kind of went off. He had 4 goals and 3 assists.
Yeah, that does seem to be the trend, kind of looking at even the highlights and the breakdown of the Cumberlands Weber game. It does seem to be that when people try to or forced to slow Q down, then the others pop out and they play that much better to fill in for that, which is a very strong sign for Weber, because I know you and I had talked about early. We didn't know what Weber would be like if you took Q out of the equation or if you had a lockdown defense on him. And I think now 2 games in a row, we've started to get a better idea of that their offense is very capable, even when he's in a lockdown kind of position. I still think that it's going to be hard for a lot of NAI defenders to be able to guard him and his box Canadian background. So I think the good teams will be able to lock him down, and the not so good teams will have a harder time doing so. I think similar to what we saw here in this Weber St. Andrews game. St. Andrews proves again why they were getting national votes. I think this game for me probably solidified that idea a little bit more in my mind. I think it's interesting, and this is kind of one thing that I've been thinking about a lot right now in the polls, and there's a lot of polls conversation we could talk about related to Twitter today, but there's a top 10, right? The coaches vote, there's a top 10, and then the rest is just receiving votes areas. Some schools have decided to use that as marketing material and say that, oh, we're place 14, we're place 13, we're place 12, which I can respect the marketing value in that. I'm a marketer. I love to see that. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, guys, there's a reason that doesn't exist right now as a poll number. So can we officially verify that? Yes or no? I don't know. The fact of the matter is St. Andrews was receiving votes. We can say that comfortably. And I think that after playing Weber in a close game like this, I think we'll see more scores that show why they were receiving votes to at least start the year out for sure.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I'm kind of torn on the issue as well. I kind of do like I'm 11th. But then again, with such a small league, it's like, all right.
I mean, I guess I could kind of feel some justification in it, because I think of Division I basketball rankings, and you can find the top 300, the top 400 on most sites in a point spread breakdown.
That's
so
true.
maybe we need an unofficial source that breaks down those next 10 contenders that are outside of the top 10. I don't know. I've never heard of such a site that uses NAI lacrosse. Maybe we figure that out. I don't know. But it's interesting right now with a smaller number of teams that's still growing in NAI. Do we feel comfortable saying that this is something like, oh, I'm place 13. I'm receiving votes. I'm 15. Some schools I've noticed on social media say we're receiving votes ranked at 15, and some will just outright say, oh, we're place 13. And I'm like, okay, I can see why that would appeal to the non-NAI understanding lacrosse fan, but anyone who understands NAI lacrosse knows that that is just a number right now. And so I'm a little bit in between on it. I feel strange on it, but I also feel like it gives everyone that much more of a competitive edge to want to win more. So I kind of like that as well. Maybe let us know in the comments or on Twitter what you guys think about teams proclaiming their positioning based on votes.
Maybe I'll throw up a poll after this or something.
That could be a good poll. I like that. So great game between Weber and St. Andrews. Happy to hear your brother enjoyed it. Looks like a beautiful campus down there, and some great people building a great program and doing lacrosse justice in that area, to say the absolute least. Any last thoughts you have around that game before I should move on to our next game?
No, I think we're about good on that one.
Okay. So next up, we have Concordia and Arbor taking on University of the Cumberlands, or University of Cumberlands. I always say that wrong. This was an interesting one. Wow. That's all I can think about around this. You got people chirping each other on Twitter, justifying what went down. You got people saying this is what happened and why it happened. I loved the input from all sides on this because there was some really interesting explanations, some really interesting insight. This was one that I think we had circled as hey, here's a top WAC contender taking on a top AAC contender. What are your thoughts? Just, I guess, preliminary thoughts on this game after watching it.
Yeah, so I went to Cumberlands. I think we both picked Cumberlands as well, and it was 14-7. I was at work and I didn't get to check my phone for the first probably 10 minutes of the game, and it was about over when I turned it on, quite frankly. I hate to say that, but turned it on. It's 6-0. I look down at my phone again. Maybe I misread that. Maybe it's a 0-0. And then I look again. No, it's 6-0. All right. The big story here, well, twofold. Concordia ran a zone defense, and they let Cumberlands get off 52 shots. And a lot of those were pretty good shots, not 18-yard shots. I mean, if you're getting 50+ shots from 12 yards out, you're going to win the game. And that's kind of what we witnessed here. Probably even bigger story. Hunter McCarty is out for probably the season, from what I'm being told, with a lower body injury. I'm not going to report the specifics just because I don't know exactly what, but that's what I've heard so far. So I don't want to say dead in the water for Concordia, but we saw what the offense looks like without him. And really, it looks like they're going to be relying on the goalie because the defense showed me nothing. I'm going to be honest. You got to step that up if you want to bounce back on this one. So I don't know, man. What did you think of it?
Ouch.
I know that was.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Cumberlands is good. They're always good. Do I think they're as good as they were in their absolute prime? Probably not. I still think that they're a very top contender. As the season goes on, we'll be able to see more. Yes, I fully, wholeheartedly expected Cumberlands to win this game. But as we discussed in the last pod, we kind of didn't know about Concordia so much after their Kalamazoo game. Therefore, we expected them probably to be a little bit closer to Cumberlands. But let me just be the offensive guy to say, I don't like zone defenses. My thought is, I feel comfortable shooting 10+ yards out. Anybody who plays against me knows that. And when somebody's in a zone defense, I'm just like, oh, it's a party. Let's just start shredding. It really is an appealing thing. And I'll be completely honest, with the way NAI lacrosse works right now, a lot of the offenses on teams have at least two guys who are comfortable shooting with 10 to 15 yards out all day, every single day. And so I feel it's okay to start out in a zone defense or give it a try. But if you see a player or several players who are very comfortable shooting outside, for God's sake, please get out of the zone defense. Like, give the guy some pressure, throw a few mean poke checks. Us attackmen don't like poke checks. We don't like slap checks. Just bully us. Like, bully the attackmen if they're going to be shooting outside. So I think that factored into this one for sure. Is when you run a zone, you got to adjust on the fly if things aren't going your way. I really do feel comfortable saying that if it wasn't for this Concordia goalie, that score would have been much higher, like astronomically higher, because the parts of the game that I caught and the highlights that I caught, that kid played out of his mind. I was like, there were some saves where I was like, yo, that was sick. Like that was a really great save right there. And then I'm also looking at the score being like, yo, it's really good you made that save. Otherwise, this score would be in a very different direction. So big props to that guy. I know that the score and the win-loss doesn't really reflect how great that kid played, but he really did play great in my mind.
Yeah, I agree with you. He played out of his mind, honestly. And it seems like that's just going to be a common thing. He did it in the first game as well. They had the season. For a Cumberland's perspective, I'd say it's really nice to see the offense get going. And they had a younger guy step up, which was pretty cool. I think his name was Dom Lulo or something like that. Sorry if I butchered that, but he had 3 goals. That was nice to see. Other than that, it was the typical guys, Crouch and Vanover, each getting over a hat trick. And it's also good to see that the young defensemen haven't really made too many mistakes so far. They've cleared the ball well. They've played physical. I mean, and that's something we've kind of discussed, like going into the year, we were kind of questioning.
Yeah, I guess I should also kind of reflect on what I had said about them not being the same Cumberlands of their prime. They got a lot of new guys, a lot of new faces. You know, they're in a new wave right now. Give them 2 or 3 games, 4 games, let them adjust into that. I think we'll be looking at a very, very, very good Cumberlands. I guess the big question we have after this game, and I'm going to ask you, and I know you're going to get chirped on it for, on Twitter after the fact. It's okay. We live for the Twitter chirps and the bots and all that. But how do you feel about Concordia with a national ranking perspective and particularly a WAC ranking perspective after seeing this game and specifically how this game went?
I think they were definitely a little bit overrated going into it, but as I got into it with another person on Twitter earlier today, we don't make the rankings. Literally the coaches in your conference control where you end up. So It's not us voting Concordia and Lord super high. It's the coaches of your conference. So someone was like, you don't know lacrosse because you say they're ranked. I'm like, no. If anybody doesn't know it, it's the coaches because they're putting them there.
That's why I think the most lovely, the most beautiful misconception, I should say, of NAI lacrosse is that things do not run the way that you think they run. Like, that's the simplest way I could possibly say it. Coaches have a much bigger role in voting, the biggest role in voting. It comes down to your conferences. It's not, we are flies on the wall. You're a former player. I'm a player. We're fans when it comes down to it at its purest level. Yes, we like to make outlandish comments and crazy thoughts, but that's just that. They're outlandish comments. The voting is really, guys, it's down to the coaches that really make that impact and make that decision. Same thing goes for players of the year, for all conference players. All of those things are not voted on by outside people in a media landscape. Like other sports, there are media votes, which would be people like us, but we're not on that right now. One day we'll get to that. It'll get there.
I will do it.
Like it will happen one day, but I promise. For the meantime, understand that what we say, take it with a grain of salt. We love NAI lacrosse, and that's it. That's the biggest portion of it, which is why this is so much fun. And I guess when I first got into NAI lacrosse, I very much had the same thoughts. I was like, okay, who's this coming from? Who's this coming from? Is it somebody who's a friend of the team or something like that about voting and stuff like that? And then I realized it coaches breakdown. Here's how this all works. Here's how the national voting works. It's a very not complex system that we'll explain to you one day, sooner or later. Anyway, okay. Concordia, Cumberlands. I'm kind of with you. I think Concordia, I don't want to say they have a bad team. They don't. They have a good team by a lot of levels. But I think the game we'll touch on today between Aquinas and Mobap, or Aquinas and Columbia rather, Aquinas looks like a front runner right now. They are looking like a big time front runner. So Do I want to say Concordia's top in the WAC? No, I absolutely do not want to say that anymore. Do I think they're a top 4 team? Probably in the WAC. They still are with the way things are going this year. We'll see as it goes. We'll give you guys more outlandish thoughts as that happens. But for the meantime, we'll leave that game where it was as an entertaining game to watch. Going to go through a few games here and touch on them quickly before we get to more kind of talking points. Savannah College Art and Design, SCAD took on Point at home. SCAD with a dominant win, 21-6. Very much what we thought. We actually didn't even have that on our NAI picks of the week, I don't think, simply because we just, I don't want to say to the Point people out there we didn't value it. We just kind of kept our highlights. So Sky with the win, that's expected. I don't think there's too much else to say there. We'll give you the score update. Taylor 12, Midland 9. Taylor is not playing on their grass field anymore. Their element of surprise has been removed. They are now playing on a gorgeous turf field that is located like 50 yards from their president's front yard of their house. Found that out thanks to the awesome commentary on the Taylor stream this weekend. So shout out to whoever does that. That was entertaining. Midland, a KCAC team in year 3. My good buddy Billy and Dogfish teammate is the head coach there now, doing some awesome stuff. That game, to be honest with you, was much closer than 3 goals. Watching that game, it was back and forth, 1 goal, 1 goal, 1 goal. I don't think I saw the same thing from Taylor that I saw when they played Ambrose. The big, strong physical defense didn't look to be as threatening in this game. I'm wondering if they just kind of stepped that up knowing they were playing Ambrose. Midland, first game of the year. Not too many thoughts on them right now just because it's their first game. We'll see how things shake out for them in the KCAC this year. I think the two teams are pretty neck and neck. I think it was a good game. That was a smart matchup early on. Moving on. This is a good one. University of Michigan, Dearborn. The Lax Cat is back. And Tennessee Wesleyan taking the game over Dearborn 16-5. What are your thoughts on this Dearborn game?
I didn't really know what to expect from Dearborn going in. I knew that they would clearly struggle on the faceoffs because if we figured out one thing, when you play Tennessee Wesleyan, you're not getting the ball off the faceoffs a lot. It's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. So you're going to get it on clears and takeaways, stuff like that. So I was kind of curious to see how they would do without that, and they struggled a little bit. I mean, we can pretty much leave it at that, but I think it was 16-5, 16-7?
16-5. You win the pick on that game. I will say I don't want to say that I put false hope into Dearborn, but I think I did have a little bit of false hope from what I had seen early on from them. Just, in the euphoria, hoping that they were going to be like this crazy top, 10 team that came out of nowhere. And I was going to be like, yeah, University of Michigan, Dearborn.
With you too. I didn't think they were going to be top 10, but based on the way they played William Penn, I thought they might end up being kind of a fringe receiving votes team. And now I think they still have some good talent, but when you have a team that's very freshman heavy starting wise, you probably got a year or two before you're really getting the results you need to see.
Absolutely. Good game though. Exciting one to watch in a matchup that we were curious about from two teams that are kind of, in a good spot in their conference. Tennessee Wesleyan especially seems to prove that they are on a tear right now. So we will see where they go next with that. Missouri Baptist, what the heck? I am upset. I am beyond upset. I really wanted to see the Aquinas Mobap game happen, but apparently 1 inch of snow on a turf field is cancelable an hour before a game. No, that's not right, because I can tell you right now, the rest of the conference, the rest of the KCAC, I'm telling you from experience, even the schools who don't want to put in a lot of effort, if there's less than 2 inches of snow on that field, they're going to get out there with their players and clear that field. Like, they're going to make it happen to play a game. So whoever was giving them all the shade on Twitter, I got to say, I kind of feel like I endorse that shade, because we play lacrosse in the Midwest where it normally snows and is cold. It's predictable this time of year. Just let the boys play. we saw people go out there and play on snow. It happens. Like, it is what it is. So
Yeah.
will we see a reschedule of that game? What do you think?
From what at least Aquinas was claiming is that Missouri Baptist wanted no part in rescheduling that one. So I guess we'll see. I wouldn't count on it because I'm sure Aquinas is going to say, "Hey, make the trip up here now." So I can't see it personally happening unless for some reason Aquinas has more games in that region, which I don't think they would. Wouldn't make sense to.
My only
It was
thought is maybe with
that
their new head coach being from Illinois, maybe he's scheduling some, friendly teams in this area. I don't know.
Yeah, it was funny to me that people were asking me like, "What do you think about the game being played?" And I'm like, "Guys, I have a really awkward position being in this, being from Georgia. Like an inch of snow is like down here. If you threaten us with an inch of snow, like we're shutting down the cities, guys." So I'm like, so you could tell me that either way. You could tell me we're playing in an inch of snow. I'd say, okay, cool. You could tell me we're canceling. I'd say, okay, I believe you to that too. So just one
I'm
of those things.
not going to say they use it as an out because it's unfair to make accusations and ideas that maybe aren't true. All I'm saying is I have run into teams before who, when they're playing an opponent who's going to be a tougher opponent and anything is out of their wheelhouse, out of their area of control conditions wise, and it's not what they're used to, if there's something in place that can be used as a reason will be found. I'm not saying that's what happened in the Mobap Aquinas game. However, I know that is what everybody is speculating what happened. I think it's even more awesome that Aquinas went on to beat Columbia today. I thought that was actually added to this story that much more. So who knows? Maybe we'll see that rescheduled. I would personally love to see that game rescheduled. However, I'm kind of with you. I find it very unlikely that game will get rescheduled, to be honest with you. So next up on the list, Siena Heights and Adrian in an overtime game. There's a guy named Potter. It's not Harry Potter. There's some cool stuff going on with this team, though. I feel, this was one that I wasn't following too closely, but I found it interesting because Adrian's a school that I had, been loosely recruited by, a Division school, a Division III school in Michigan. They've had really, really good years. They've had really, really okay years, but they've always been a semi-consistent program that is a good lacrosse program. So I don't think that Siena Heights losing to a Division III neighbor is that big of a deal, especially in a one-goal overtime situation. Again, these teams are in areas they're going to be recruiting against each other. They're going to have a lot of familiar faces on each team. Adrian's a well-put-together, well-funded program from my knowledge. And Siena Heights is also a good program. So I think that score reflects it. No NAI fan should be super sad they lost against a D3 team. I promise you that is a quality D3 team.
Yeah, and I guess my only real thought about it is from the Siena Heights perspective. I guess they are what they are right now. They have Potter, they have Gallagher. They're both going to get 4 to 5 goals a game. They're really good players, but it just doesn't seem like they get any help. Like game by game, you see every game they put up 3, 4, or 5 goals, and it just seems like once they're playing good competition, it's just not enough. You know what I mean?
I agree. I think that's a really, really good way to say it, is that they're in a position with, if they had a little bit more supporting staff helping them, or even counterparts in key areas on the opposite side of the field, I think that this team would be in a really good spot. I don't know enough about their roster right now to know exactly what's going on. I had a buddy who used to go there, transferred to another team in the NAI. They've had really good years again. They've had ups and downs. That's why I think this game was a pretty accurate matchup. Will they get better from here? Probably. They probably find a little bit of momentum, especially when they're in conference play. But again, the way things are going in the WAC right now, them playing against Concordia is probably going to be a tough matchup. Them playing against Indiana Tech, definitely going to be a tough matchup. Them playing against Aquinas, for sure, a tough matchup. I would even venture to say them and Dearborn might be kind of a neck and neck game.
Yeah, I'm at the point where I know it's very early in the season, but I'm willing to bet. I'm not saying they're going to be a lower tier WAC, but I'd probably put them somewhere dead center.
Yep. Definitely agreed there. Definitely. All right. Now we move on to some very exciting stuff here in my wheelhouse of the very cold gray Midwest. Indiana Tech 14, Benedictine 10. What'd you see from this game? Because I got a lot of thoughts. Get us started.
Yeah, this is probably the game I got to watch. I was pretty busy this weekend, but this is probably the one I saw the most of. And early on, it looked like Benedictine was going to run away with it. I think it was 5-1, 5-2 at one point. Ended up being 7-5 at half. But it was another one where we've kind of realized that Indiana Tech has some clear issues at the face-off spot. One thing they did change probably midway through the second quarter is they brought, I don't know if it's a close defenseman or an LSM, but they used him to start facing off, and he's kind of faced off since. And I was surprised he actually won the majority of the faceoffs in that game once he got rolling. So,
Yeah.
like, once that happened, they kind of really took over, especially in the third quarter. I think they went on like a 7-8-0 run, and that was kind of really when it was pretty done with. From a Benedictine perspective, they did do some things well. I just say the defense needs to improve a little bit.
Would agree. And this is the game that I, aside from the two games today, this was the game that I watched the most of as well. I was in the same spot. It looked like Benedictine was going to run away with it. I was like, my pick is golden. Let's go. And then I started to see things kind of fall into place where I'd expect them to fall into place. It seems like what's happening with Indiana Tech is, would they have won this game last year? Yeah, I do think so. I think it would have been by a lot larger margin. What I'm seeing right now is that Indiana Tech doesn't feel pressured until they have to feel pressured. It seems like they're kind of going into games cruising. Now, I don't want to say they're expecting to win, but it's just a different motivation set. Whereas once they saw Benedictine start to put a lot of goals on, I saw guys go from 30% motivation to 100% motivation on that field. Like, there was a clear difference in the play of a lot of players in Indiana Tech once Benny went up by a few goals. And I have to expect they probably didn't think that Benny was going to do that to them. Benedictine's a team that often gets slept on by out of conference teams, I feel like, but they are very good at scoring quickly. And I think that's what we saw in this game. Again, it's just, is Indiana Tech a second half type of team this year? Do they have to see pressure to be able to play their best? I don't know. It's kind of a weird list of ingredients right now, what we're seeing with Indiana Tech. I feel like Benedictine played their hearts out in this game, but I definitely agree with you. When it came down to it, I feel like Indiana Tech's attackmen and their midfielders were moving too quick, and Benedictine's defensemen were not playing physical enough on them. The offensive players of Indiana Tech are quick. They can dodge. They can shoot. The moves are they're everywhere. Like, they can make the ball go in the net in about any way possible. And for teams to stop that, they have to have very dominating physical defense. And it just felt like that kind of fell off towards the end there for Benedictine, but really exciting game. Like, I really enjoyed watching that game. I can truly tell you that right now. What are your thoughts on these stats here? You want to give some guys some shout outs?
Yeah, Andrew Ryan was doing his thing pretty much all weekend. He had 3 goals, 2 assists in this one. Nate Langill with 2 goals, 3 assists. And it was actually, to me, it was kind of like the second half was finally when the Indiana Tech offense started clicking. I know they have a couple of new pieces, but most of it was the same guys as last year. So you think they would have started off a little bit hotter, but it seemed like they really started having fun out there too. I mean, I can't even tell you the amount of BTB passes I saw. And there were some really good ones. There was one that was like BTB pass to another guy who hit an open guy with a BTB pass. He like just barely missed one. So that definitely would have been a nice highlight if he would have sunk it. But I mean, they look like they're having fun. They look like they're getting fired up, and the synergy is starting to come along.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. I like watching them because they're creative and they have fun. It's a loose, fun version of lacrosse that you can tell they're enjoying to play. Like, and that's the thing, is the end of the day, I want guys to graduate from 4 or 5 years of school and be like, man, I had a great time playing college lacrosse. Like, if you win a national championship, if you're in the top 10 every year, I mean, good on you, like, awesome. But at the end of the day, like, have fun while you're playing. And these guys are competitive, having fun. And like you said, the synergy is starting to come into place. what else do you want from a team? That's really fun to watch. And then right down the line, we see Indiana Tech come into today. Could we call it a trap game? I don't know. I kind of felt like it was. I'm not going to lie to you. I was thinking that this game looked from the start like a little bit of a trap game. Indiana Tech taking on Ottawa at Ottawa in Kansas. 2 Kansas road trips for them. What was the final score of this one?
It was 16-7 Indiana Tech. So it looked like right before halftime, they really kind of stepped it up a little bit. Yeah, kind of like you said.
Maybe. I don't know. Again, because in this game, for those of you who are watching, I like your comment on this list, Young DeMarco. I was also going to say Young DeMarco putting on a show out there, my boy. That was exciting to watch. But Ottawa, from the start, from the opening whistle, was out there ready to score, ready to scrap for the ball. And I was like, oh, man, I'm in this conference. I have to play this team. So I was in kind of a strange position there. But Ottawa, you guys, if you're listening, great start to that game. It was exciting to watch. And I think, again, the pressure against Indiana Tech of early goals let out there. This is an interesting, what did you think of Ottawa's defense, especially in the second half of that game?
It looked like they fell apart a little bit. Maybe borderline got tired, I'd say. They have a lot of bigger guys, is what I noticed. They're very physical. You're going to feel it if you play them. Probably for a couple days after as well.
I can testify.
They're not afraid to lay the body, take a penalty if it saves a goal kind of thing. But very scrappy. And, I mean, I was impressed with the Ottawa team. Primarily the offense. The offense is really where they're going to shine with the DeMarco brothers, putting up big numbers. Another thing about this game was they went like 19 of 25 on faceoffs against Indiana Tech. So as we said earlier, one thing that's really going to hold Indiana Tech back, like especially when I'm thinking, are they going to beat Reinhardt, Kaiser, or Cumberlands? The 3 keys with them, they're probably the 3 best faceoff guys in the nation, other than maybe Tennessee Wesleyan's guy too. But thing they're definitely going to have to improve on. But another big win for Indiana Tech on the road.
Yeah, it was. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think that in any facet of lacrosse, in any game, whoever controls the face-off game is going to have an edge on a massive level. And I don't think it shook out that way necessarily in this game because of the scoring, differential and the final score. But I think biggest thing in my mind is kind of off the defensive point you had there. I don't know if it was exhaustion, if it was lack of substitutes, if it was miscommunication. It could have been anything in the moment. But again, if you give Indiana Tech any edge on the offense to get by you, to move faster, I saw guys dodge, and then turn around and shoot the ball. And it looked pretty effortless because the defender was lost by that point. If you try to overcompensate and just play hard physical defense, I know I just say, if you're playing against Indiana Tech, you have to be hard physical defense, but you also have to be smart. And it looked like things got a little bit congested, a little bit confused. Indiana Tech saw that. And once Indiana Tech starts scoring, they're not going to stop scoring. And that's very much what we saw in this game, to be honest with you. All right. Any final thoughts on that game?
Not really. I mean, Andrew Ryan is just a killer, as we have seen over and over again. So, I mean, he really powers the offense.
Absolutely. True that. On to what I am calling the most exciting game of the day, because I watched this game from pretty much start to finish and was excited to watch this game. Yes, I was doing homework. Was I fully focused? Probably not. But every time I looked up, I'm like, oh my gosh, Aquinas is winning. Aquinas is up by 1 goal. Aquinas just tied it. I was like, this is crazy. And Aquinas beats Columbia 15-13 at Columbia, one of the harder atmospheres to play in, I'll be honest with you. And it was close. But the thing is, it was not as close as that score reflects, because from my knowledge, Columbia put on 3 goals, 2 or 3 goals in the last minute, and they just kind of looked like gimme goals. This game would have ended before those last couple of goals at the very, very end there. It would have been like 15-11, 15-12. Aquinas, there was opportunities for Columbia to take this game and run with it and just pick up their momentum. But every time I looked up, Aquinas was right back down there scoring consistently on possessions. And I think that was the story of this game, was that there was no wasted possessions in my mind for Aquinas. Like, they utilized those possessions every single time. What do you think?
Yeah. I don't know how many people read the Naia Lax or the Lax All-Stars article I wrote this weekend, but the one thing, and full disclosure, I did pick Columbia. But the thing I said was Columbia is replacing at least 2 of the 3 poles, maybe 3, and I think some D mids as well. So I said if they weren't careful on the defense of the end, they would get exposed a little bit. And I think that's kind of what we saw, just young defensemen playing one of the best attack lineups out there. So
yeah, and I will also say both goalies played their minds out, because there was a lot of shots that I was just like, that shot should have gone in 100%. And I think I will always give the Columbia goalie props. He saves low shots like nobody's business and drops onto them very well. And I saw a lot of low shots that would have been like 4 or 5 goal lead situations for Aquinas stuffed out by this goalie when he dropped low, which was interesting.
yeah, I wish I had gotten to watch this one a little bit more than I did, but I think we were right when we were saying Aquinas should be a ranked team. I mean, I don't know necessarily how high, but if you want to put them in around 5 or 6, I have no problem with it. What about you?
I don't either. I will also say, after the recent controversy of seasons being wiped away, records wise, and having a new coach, there was a lot of uncertainty going into this Aquinas season. And huge shout out to that coach for doing what he's doing right now early on, because my gosh, Aquinas is exciting to watch right now. I have no problem putting them in the 5 or 6 position. I think they will continue to demonstrate why they deserve that position, if not higher. Was it the best Columbia lacrosse I've ever seen Columbia play today? Not even close. Not even close. It's the first game of the year. That's a tough first game to start out with. Our Columbia always seems to find their grit 4 to 5 games in. I think we'll probably see that again here. But I will say, regardless, that is a huge win for Aquinas early on, facing a lot of uncertainty. And I truly feel, if I was a betting man, I would say Aquinas only gets better from here.
Yeah, I would agree with you on this one. Here's one of my questions for you. So these were kind of 2 of the maybe not favorites, but definitely top 2 or 3 teams in each of the respective conferences. How are we feeling kind of KCAC and WAC wise in terms of like team ranking kind of thing?
Yeah, let's see. Okay, so we can look at KCAC real quick. Before we do that, I'll just mention this last score here. Benedictine 26, Morningside 2. Yeah, I'm not even like trying to be rude right now, but there's not a lot I can say about this. Morningside's on year 3 of their program right now. I know. There's not much I can say. I will say, shout out to Morningside. You guys are really growing the game a lot in Sioux City. I see a lot of good clinics and a lot of amazing stuff happening regarding Morningside lacrosse. So guys, things only get better from here. All the players on that team, keep your head high. That's the biggest thing I can tell you right now, and enjoy playing lacrosse. Focus on enjoying playing lacrosse right now. That's the biggest advice I have to you in this game. And shout out, Benedictine getting another win there. Conference standings, though, kind of what we think right now. The KCAC is kind of a tough one for me right now, because I don't think it's a tough one on the top half. I wonder if there's any sleeper teams out there right now. We haven't played. St. Mary hasn't played. Midland just played. Who else hasn't played in the conference yet? Ambrose has played. I'm right now top 3 in the conference, and I have absolutely no problem saying this. I have Ambrose number 1. I have Benedictine number 2. I have Columbia number 3. And I only say that because the lacrosse that I've seen from Ambrose versus Columbia, the Ambrose seems to be a lot more consistent, dominant lacrosse where everything is working together. I also feel like Benedictine is on a roll right now. And even though they lost against Indiana Tech, I think that was a very good loss, you could say, quote unquote. I really feel that those are the top 3. I do think that Benedictine and Columbia are a bit interchangeable in that 3 position, but I do think Ambrose at number 1 in the KCAC right now makes complete sense. Who's at 4 in the KCAC? Maybe Ottawa, maybe Missouri Baptist. It's kind of a question mark right now. And as we know where the KCAC sits right now, Clarke included, the other 6 teams are kind of in a similar position, whereas the other teams in the conference are all in a similar position too. So we're in 2 different realms right now. What are your thoughts, I guess, on KCAC and even just top 3?
Yeah, I guess the top 3 would be pretty interesting. I mean, really the top 5 even could be pretty interesting. I think you definitely got to give Ambrose the top spot so far. They're clearly the best win of the season by any team. I guess the thing with them is I want to see them kind of keep the momentum going, because I know they kind of struggled in the middle of the game with Taylor. So I don't want to say it's a fluke by any means that they are where they are, but I just want to see them remain that for the rest of the season, if that makes sense. I'd probably go Columbia second still, just because I'm not going to jump off the Columbia bandwagon after one loss to a good team, William Penn's definitely somewhere in there. Benedict.
Oh my gosh, I missed William Penn. I need to rewrite my thing. You continue going though, but know that William Penn's in my top 4. I just thought about it.
Yeah, so William Penn's in there, Benedictine, and then of course Ottawa's not looking too bad either. So I mean, all 5 of those could be very competitive.
Shout out to Nalgene making great water bottles since forever. Yeah, no, I honestly, and I blanked on William Penn. I feel like William Penn is they're in a position where they could be 3 or 2. And they might be at 1. William Penn's a team that I really feel comfortable that they could probably go against Ambrose and put on a good show. I just think that I think the top 5, I would even say, in our conference right now are very close. Like they're all in a position where they could beat each other any day of the week, and it could go the opposite any day of the week. That's kind of the unusual thing right now about the KCAC. Before all the games get started, even where are you at right now with the WAC?
The WAC's a very interesting one for me because I think I clearly have my 2 top teams in it, and I'm not really sure what to do with the rest of the conference. I don't feel like it's the situation we're used to where they have 5 or 6 teams gunning for that top spot. They're all very good. I think it's kind of we're sitting there with 2 pretty good teams in Indiana Tech and Aquinas, and I'm not really sure which one's better right now. I mean, I'd probably maybe give a slight edge to Aquinas just because I feel like they're a little bit more. I hate to overly harp on the face-off thing, but to me that's a big issue that they have to get straightened out before to put them in kind of the top 4.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I guess the easiest way to say this is I think the rest of the WAC right now is too inconsistent to even make judgment on. However, I do think that Aquinas and Indiana Tech both are in very good spots. It's hard to pick between the 2. Watching the gameplay literally side by side on a big screen today of both teams, I can tell you that I think Aquinas looks like more put together lacrosse. It just looks flowier. It looks like all the players in the team want to work together. Nothing is really fancy necessarily, but it's very high IQ lacrosse, which is what I expect out of that coach. I'll be honest with you. So I'm not surprised by that, but I do think because they're different in their own styles and have success in their own styles, it could be a situation where it comes down to those 2 teams, and I don't think it would surprise either of us. But again, the rest of the WAC is just, man, it is too all over the place to even put a 4 and a 5 spot out there, or even a 3 spot. I just don't think any of the WAC right now is really clear on what's going on. Could Concordia be at 3? Probably. That wouldn't be overly surprising, but again, we haven't seen Lords play. I'm just going to be honest. We haven't seen Lords play. There's still scenarios that could play out we don't know about yet. So I think to say our top 2 right now does make the most sense. And now on to your all-time favorite, man, the AAC. I know we'll get it out of the way here. Reinhardt's at 1. Where's everybody else sit? Because I agree Reinhardt's at 1.
I'm definitely going Cumberlands at 2. I guess for me the question just becomes how far back are they at 2? Is it
it could go either way, 1 or 2, or is it a 4 or 5 goal gap? And I'm not really sure at this moment. I just want to see. You think it's more?
I'm telling you, I'll tell anybody in the conference this. I think this might be the most exciting Reinhardt I've seen in the past 3 years. Just quick fire lacrosse.
That's
And
fair.
I think offensively that's going to be big, but I don't know yet. So I'll stay with the modest answer that you had. Yep.
Yeah. I'm trying not to get too much hate this week. Then I guess at the 3 spot, I got probably Tennessee Wesleyan. I mean, I've been really impressed with them so far this year. I guess the thing for me is once they play a team like Reinhardt where the faceoffs are pretty close to 50-50, I want to see how that plays out a little bit. So yeah, I mean, I still feel pretty dang strong about Tennessee Wesleyan. Weber is probably at 4th, but they could probably give Tennessee Wesleyan a run for their money as well. So I mean, really just got to play itself out.
Yeah, I think you said that exactly as I would have said it. Everything there. That's where I'm feeling exactly. I do think that similar to what you said, I think that Weber is in a position that they might surprise teams that don't expect to be surprised. They're very deep rostered. They have some very good offensive weapons. They have some pretty strong defense. They have like a bazillion goalies. There's a lot going on there that I think will surprise some people. But I do think that Tennessee Wesleyan is, especially right now, very defensively strong with their new player and very strong at the faceoff X. And those are 2 very important positions to know what's going on. So I feel very comfortable with that. Who's in the rest of the AAC right now? I don't know who's at the bottom of the AAC. I don't know. Is it Montreat? Again, we haven't seen enough of these games to really know the rest of what's going on. I would probably feel comfortable with putting St. Andrews maybe at 5, kind of somewhere there, and then see where the rest of it falls. I think we have a better idea where the lower half is, but the middle portion of the AAC right now is really questionable. That's the biggest thing.
Is taking a year off this year to rebuild.
News break. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I have mixed feelings on that. For those who don't know, Montreat was the first school I visited when I was very young, in Black Mountain, North Carolina. Gorgeous place. I've always wanted to see their program with success. Hopefully this pause brings them that success. So that is very good insight. Thank you, sir. Yeah, no, I guess I even know more of where the bottom half of the AAC currently sits. So the middle half we'll have to wait on. We'll have to see what's going on. Time will tell. We should also mention, if you're looking at lacrosse stats right now for NAI and you're looking at conference breakdowns, yes, you're seeing that we have an independent conference again. Is that legit? Not really. It's just an independent conference that's more of just a collection of teams than an independent conference that was literally an independent conference before. This one, from my understanding, is genuinely just a collection of random teams that are not willing to play NAI lacrosse. That's the simplest way to say it. I don't mean to sound vulgar or mean by any means, but for example, College of Idaho, which is in the news today for fortunate or unfortunate reasons.
About that. Just briefly before we make our picks.
Yeah, talk about it.
In Southern Oregon, 42-2. I ran a poll about this, and it was a little closer than I thought. I mean, what are your opinions? I think we got like 60% of people said that 40 is too much. I thought it's clearly too many goals. I mean, I thought like once you get past 25, you're just kind of a jerk at that point. And like, what are your proof and who are you trying to prove it to? Like,
yeah, I have a little bit of insight on these teams. I got a little bit of knowledge in this. College of Idaho was another early school I was recruited by. Had a lot of dialogue with their former coach. They have a great program. They have a really great program that is an NAI team that competes in the MCLA. The kids are getting NAI scholarships to compete in the MCLA. It's a great situation. It's a wonderful school with awesome staff. I have zero knocks on what they're doing there for lacrosse because my short recruiting experience with them before deciding I didn't want to go that far away from home was very good. There were a lot of good things about that, and they've proven they can do some awesome lacrosse. The situation here, to be honest with you, is that College of Idaho has a very good lacrosse team that normally runs their MCLA conference every single year and is very good and is very well supported. The Southern Oregon team, I believe, the other team, from everything I've heard, is the complete opposite. They're like low tier MCLA, like maybe shouldn't be in the MCLA type situation. So this was a David versus Goliath type of thing, not in the sense that story went, but instead Goliath being College of Idaho. I don't think it's ever right to put that many goals on a team. That is the type of situation that will get kids to stop playing lacrosse forever. I hate to say it, but I have seen teams lose by that many, and I've seen kids quit on the way to the bus afterward. That is something that is, I don't like it. I don't know who made that call. I'm not sure they have a new coach there right now. I don't know if that coach was like, guys, just go with it, pedal to the metal. I heard that players on the other team were trying to fight College of Idaho kids and injure them to start out. Was there motivation? I'm going to be honest. If there was motivation there, if there are guys clearly trying to take my teammates' heads off, I'm going to go run that ball in 110 times. And I don't care what the score is. Like if there is clear issue from the start of the game like that, there's a reasonable backstory. However, I feel like anytime it's not right to do that. For example, Benedictine played Morningside today. I feel like Benedictine handled it the right way. I watched that game, and I can tell you right now, this is no knock on Morningside, but anybody will see this. Benedictine could have scored a lot more goals. They were conservative with the ball. They were playing fun lacrosse. They were letting the ball go back and forth a little bit. It was a more competitive game because they put other guys in who otherwise wouldn't be able to play as much. And I think that's the way it should be. I don't know if that was an option in this College of Idaho game, but without knowing what happened in that game, that is never okay to run that score up that high.
Yeah, I mean, if they weren't trying to take your head off at the beginning of the game, they dang well should have been at the end of it. I hate to say that, but as a defenseman, I'm full-blown goon squatting you. Like, if you score a goal past 30, I'm coma sliding, head down to your collarbone. That's just, it is.
Yeah, and my thing is, I'm going to look back to, this is an interesting thing. I believe this was played at College of Idaho. Fun fact, their stadium has a rodeo attached to it. Pretty cool. Was very excited to see that. But they normally stream their games in pretty high quality. I'm going to watch the game. I want to see what actually happened, and if this was a bunch of guys who have never played lacrosse before playing against a very good team, or if this was literally a blood battle. And that's going to have a big impact on how I feel about it. But I will say this is not a good look for NAI lacrosse right now. I will openly say that right here, right now, because the majority of the opinions I'm seeing across social media is like, people are like, who the heck is this program? And can we like decline them from participation anymore? So it is what it is. They are listed as an independent NAI team. So whatever falls back. Huh?
We don't claim them yet until they claim us.
Right. That's right. That's a good point. I like that. I'll go with that. That is interesting. You know, that's why I just brought up these independent teams. It's really tough because the teams that are independent right now are in positions that they could be playing NAI games, but they're not, which to me is kind of like, hey, you get out of the NAI, shame on you. But at the same time, it is what it is. So if you guys look online, you see independent conference, don't get confused. It's not a conference. It's just a collection of teams that don't play NAI lacrosse. That's what's happening right there right now.
All right. To close us out, let's make our picks for the week.
Let's do it. First up, Dearborn, University of the Cumberlands. You go first.
Cumberland's big.
Cumberlands, 100% here as well. Not going to make a goal differential in that one. Ottawa and William Penn. You cannot vote on this one. I'm voting William Penn from what I've seen in the Ottawa position. I don't think that I think it'll be a close game, probably in a lot of ways. But I think the depth of William Penn outmatches Ottawa by quite a few right now, and that's just one factor of that game. Mobap and Dearborn. Hopefully, there's no snow on that field.
Shoot, I'll take Mobap, but I mean, I really have no idea just because we haven't seen them yet.
I'm gonna take Mobap. I've heard really good things about the program where it is right now, and I've heard really good things from new transfers. There's some great guys in that team right now at Mobap that I think, when given the opportunity to play their first game this season, I think they'll be in a good position. So I'm taking Mobap over Dearborn, and then right after that we have Mobap and Lords. Big old question mark on Lords right now. What do you feel? Are you going to make a pick against without? Do you feel like you have enough Lords knowledge?
They lost the goalie, they lost the LSM, but give me Lords, but I do not feel good about it. All I know is they got their best attackman back from last year. Maybe that'll be enough.
I actually feel a little bit strange in this game. I'm not going to lie to you. I feel very indifferent. I could see these two teams, if it's a historic Lords that we've seen before, matching up very well against each other. I think their numbers are going to be pretty similar. I want to say I'm going to take Mobap just for the competitive edge of our picks. But I full disclosure think that this game will be very close and could go either way. Is it a trap game for Mobap to play a back-to-back situation again? I don't think it's a trap game, but I do think that Mobap doesn't have a ton of guys right now, and they may be in an exhausted position going into game 2, which obviously affects your competitive edge. Nobody can deny that. Then we have Reinhardt and Weber. I'm personally taking Reinhardt, but I do think Weber will play well. How about you?
Yeah, we're in a pretty similar both there. I think Reinhardt will probably I a respectable amount, but I think Weber will put up a fight. I think this will be the first time Weber plays a team with two like top-notch defensemen. So I don't think Q or Jackson will be able to get more than one or two each.
Agreed. Very, very much agreed there. Then we have Columbia College taking on Tennessee Wesleyan. I'm pumped for that game.
You go first on this one.
All right. I'm taking Tennessee Wesleyan.
You stole my thunder, man. I'm taking Tennessee Wesleyan as well.
I like it.
I don't know. I feel really good about Tennessee Wesleyan. I think they could be a tournament team this year.
I 100% agree with that statement. Very much so. All right, moving on to another disqualified pick for you since you can't vote on this one. And just so you guys know, John won't vote on William Penn games, and I won't vote on Clarke games. That's the situation we're on. Indiana Tech and William Penn. This is I don't know how I feel about this one. I'm taking Indiana Tech, but again, don't be shocked, guys, if William Penn changes that scoreboard and makes it look a little different than you thought it was going to look like. This is a game to watch. This is up there. Give it the big old check mark game to watch for the week. That's for sure. And then finally, we have Columbia College and University of the Cumberlands. Where are you at with that game?
Man, it's one of those things where it's like it's really hard to like say out loud that Columbia is going to be 0-3 because like they won every game last year until the tournament.
Yep.
They went 15-1, but I'm looking at it like they could realistically be 0-3. And I don't know, man. Who are you taking? You go first, then I'll pick.
I'm taking Cumberlands, and I feel very comfortable about it.
Okay, very comfortable about it.
I just think that I think Cumberlands looks a little bit more put together right now than CC. And I also am factoring in the fact that CC has to play Tennessee Wesleyan before that.
Good point.
Not only that, but they're making a pretty decent road trip because it's not like, I mean, yeah, it's not that far of a road trip for them from Missouri, but it's still a little bit of a road trip. They're playing a very tough opponent, and they're playing another very tough opponent. I'm basing that a big time off of the fact that they're playing Tennessee Wesleyan before.
I like that logic, and I know people are going to be like, y'all didn't really pick that too many differently, but I'm going to take it. Just because they struggle with his top attack guys, and the strength of Cumberlands is the little, very quick attackmen they have. So
I could see that being an issue as well.
Precisely. Well, with that being said, do we have any Twitter stuff related we need to address?
I mean,
I don't think it. Not that I can think of.
I think we're good on that front.
Yeah, good little hour episode for you guys. You'll be watching this tomorrow. So happy Monday, happy start to a new week. Hopefully your teams are doing well and you're preparing and staying healthy. And I guess without further ado, we'll see you guys next time.
See you then.